Assalamu alaikum everyone, Eid Mubarak. But is it actually Eid? Unfortunately, we're in the situation again. Some people are doing Eid on Tuesday, and some people will be celebrating Eid on Wednesday. Why are we in this situation? My name is Imad Ahmed. I'm an amateur astronomer. I'm the founder of New Crescent Society, and I also work with the Royal Greenwich Observatory. I'm here in Greenwich today to help you understand why some people do Eid on different days. It seems strange to me that within the same country, on the same island, within the same city, we celebrate Eid on different days. In fact, some families within the same household do Eid on different days. Some are fasting for Arafah on Tuesday, and some are doing Eid on Tuesday on the same day. Why does this happen? Firstly, I think it's good to note the difference between the Gregorian calendar, which we use here in the UK, and the lunar calendar. The Gregorian calendar is based on the sun, so a year is how long it takes for the earth to spin around the sun. But the Islamic calendar does not use the sun at all. It's based on the moon. Now, an Islamic calendar has 12 months as well, but a month is how long it takes for the moon to go around the earth. So it's based on the moon. It takes 29.5 days for the moon to go around the earth. So an Islamic month can be either 29 days or it can be 30 days. It can't be 28 days like February, and it can't be 31 days like August. In order to determine whether the month is 29 days or 30 days, Muslims from around the world will go and try and look for the new crescent moon on the 29th of that month. They might look for the moon with a telescope, but traditionally we wouldn't be using a telescope, we'd just be doing it with our naked eye. If the moon is visible, then that month will be 29 days only. If the moon is invisible that day, then the month will be 30 days. So unlike the Gregorian calendar, the length of a month might vary. So Ramadan, for example, sometimes we fast 29 days and sometimes we fast 30 days. Whenever we see the moon, what we're actually seeing is the sun's light being reflected off of the moon. That's whether you're looking at a full moon or a crescent. When the sun, the moon and the earth are all in a single line or in alignment, we cannot see the moon at all, and we call that a new moon. That's because all of the far side of the moon, that's the side of the moon that we can't see, is being shone on by the sun, but no part that we're looking at is being shone on. I personally find the name new moon a bit confusing or a misnomer because we can't see the moon. I think a better term that we also use is conjunction, and actually in some countries they use this phrase zero moon. It means you cannot see the moon during the new moon. Now, to some people that might sound like an eclipse, because also in the eclipse we have the sun, the moon and the earth in alignment. It's a very common question. Why don't we have an eclipse during the new moon or conjunction? The answer is we do some months, but actually it's because the moon's doesn't always orbit in the same plane, so it goes up and down if you like. And so when the sun and the moon and the earth are in alignment so that the moon is covering the sun from where we look, we do get an eclipse. The solar eclipse can only happen during a new moon, and in fact we had a solar eclipse this month on August the 11th. So we have conjunction, and at the point of conjunction we cannot see the moon. The moon continues to orbit around the earth, and so now when it moves out of conjunction, a small slither of the moon starts to become lit up. And that slither is what we call a crescent or a new crescent. Now, straight after conjunction, you will not be able to see the moon. In fact, it takes quite a substantial period of time, not a minute or two. In fact, the world record is about 15 hours to use your naked eye to be able to see the new crescent. And with a telescope, that was reduced to around 12 hours. A massive misconception is that the Islamic month begins with the new moon or conjunction. That is not the case. The Islamic month begins with the new crescent or the visibility of the new crescent, which normally takes place about 24 hours after conjunction. So you can either see the new crescent or you can't. Why is there controversy? Well, the answer to that question lies in the fact that you cannot see the new crescent at all points of the globe at the same time. It's just like the sun. You can't see the sun at all points of the globe at the same time. It may well be the case that the new crescent is viewable or visible in Mecca, but it's invisible in the UK. And similarly, on a single day, it may be possible to sight the new crescent in the UK, but not possible to sight the new crescent in Mecca. And so therefore, we have two opinions, mainly two opinions, within the UK. They are as follows. Opinion 1. We should follow new crescent sighting reports that come from Saudi Arabia. We should celebrate Eid and fast on the day of Arafah as it is done in Mecca. Let's call these people Saudi moon followers. The people who follow this opinion will be celebrating Eid on Tuesday. Opinion 2. We should follow moon sighting reports that come from within our own locality. We live in the UK and we do not live in Makkah, and so we should follow conditions in our own country. Let's call these people local moon sighters. People following this opinion will be doing Eid on Wednesday. Alright, so let's take a closer look at these two opinions. Those who follow the local sighting say, look, we're scientifically more sound. We follow the new crescent sighting within our own area, and that follows the tradition of beginning the month when you sight the new crescent. Those who follow Saudi say, actually, we should all follow the new crescent reports that come from Makkah in order to achieve unity, meaning everybody should do Eid on the same day. In response to that, those people who do local moon sightings say, why should this be the case? This has never been the case. Muslims in history have always celebrated Eid on different days in different locations. In fact, there is evidence to suggest that during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad, Makkah and Medina celebrated Eid al-Adha on different days. And there are certainly hadiths which also indicate that Medina was not accepting moon sighting reports that were coming from distant locations. However, and this is where it gets really controversial, some people don't follow Saudi Arabia for a different reason. They say the new crescent reports that are produced by Saudi Arabia are in fact scientifically impossible. Alright, that's a very controversial statement to make, but is that actually true? To find out, I consulted engineer Kamaruddin, astronomer and the head of Islamic Crescent Observation, an organisation that collects sighting reports from around the world. Engineer Kamaruddin, sighting reports emerged from Saudi Arabia on Saturday the 11th saying that the new crescent had been sighted. What are your views on this?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My point of view is that it was not technically possible for the moon to be sighted in Saudi Arabia or anywhere in the whole world, if that matters.
We have a map which has the data for the visibility of the moon. Can you talk us through this map for Saturday 11th of August?
Okay, so if we look at the visibility map for Saturday 11th August 2018, we can see there is a red zone on the right hand side, and it means impossible, meaning the moon has set before the sun. So there is no possibility of sighting. And then you have a clear patch. It means the moon is setting with the sun or slightly after the sun. But because it is so close to the sun, they say it is not possible to be sighted because it is beyond dungeon limit. That means there isn't enough separation between the sun and moon for the light of the sun to be reflected off the surface of the moon to reach any observer on the earth. So even with optical telescope, it is not possible to sight the moon in the clear patch. As we move toward west, dark green means easily possible by the naked eye, and this is not anywhere on the inhabited world. And then light green is if the weather is perfect, and then the color goes yellow one, that only possible with optical aids. And then to orange, it is not possible at all, even with small telescopes.
Okay, thank you. If we move on to the second map, Sunday 12th of August, what does this set of data tell us?
This set of data tell us that the whole world should be able to see the moon on that date, because the first sighting should coincide with the international dateline from the east, and as the time moves towards the west, it is getting bigger and brighter and higher in the sky. So Australia should see it, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, African countries, all the American countries should be able to see it by the naked eye, subject to weather conditions. So everyone should be able to see it. And this is the requirement of the Islamic law, that people should be able to see the moon easily through the human eye to begin the Islamic month, and not on the birth of the moon or the calculated moon set after sunset.
Thank you. And I've got one last question. To reconfirm, would it have been possible for the new crescent to have been sighted on Saturday 11th of August in Saudi Arabia?
It was not possible at all, and according to the data, the moon on Riyadh horizon, because that's where the witnesses have claimed to have sighted with naked eye, the area near Riyadh called Shagra and Tomair and Sudair. So few people, they have claimed sighting, and these are the same people who claimed that over many years. The age of the moon was 5.5 hours at sunset, and it was 2 degrees altitude height at the time of sunset. elongation, angular separation was only 4 degrees. So this was beyond human possibilities. So the data tells us it was not possible, and we do not have any reports from any of the Hilal Committee astronomers in Saudi Arabia to have sighted the moon either. That we know for sure. The question arises, is Eid al-Adha connected with Hajj? For the people who are within the jurisdiction of Saudi Arabia, they are following the authority, not the sighting of the moon. So their intention will be rewarded by Allah accordingly. But what about Eid al-Adha for people outside Saudi Arabia? Now remember, the Hajis do not do Eid al-Adha. They are busy pelting the Jamarat and spending time doing Ibadat in Mina. But people who are not doing Hajj, they have to do Eid al-Adha. Now, from the biography of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there is no connection of Eid al-Adha with Hajj. History shows that Eid al-Adha was started by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam from the 2nd year of Hijrah, before Hajj became compulsory, which was in 9th year of Hijrah. So there is no connection between the two. Another question comes, what about the fasting on the day of Arafah? Now we should understand that the day of Arafah is a date in the Islamic calendar, and place of Arafah is a location in Mecca. The two are not connected. People before the advent of telecommunication still fasted on the day of Arafah, but they did it with the sighting of the moon from their own countries, in their own locations. And even in the time of Prophet ﷺ, people of Medina had separate moon sighting from the people of Mecca. As far as UK is concerned, we are 3,000 miles away from Saudi Arabia. We are not within the boundary of Saudi Arabia. Therefore, we are not obliged to follow their moon sighting or their day of Arafah. Our moon sighting and our date for fasting is separate from theirs. And even Saudi scholars have made that plain and clear.
Okay, so this should explain why we have two different Eids again within the UK. But just to recap, those people who are doing Eid on Tuesday are doing so because they say we should follow Saudi Arabia, and doing Eid on Tuesday will promote global unity. Those people doing Eid on Wednesday are doing Eid on Wednesday because they follow the local moon, and they say the moon was not visible in order for us to do Eid on Tuesday in the UK, nor was it visible in Saudi, nor was it visible anywhere in the world. And they say following the local crescent is the closest to the Sunnah and closest to the history of what Muslims have always done. So, if that's an explanation as to the differences, what's the solution? Within the UK, the New Crescent Society advocates for an Islamic calendar based on lunar visibility and not to rely on word from abroad. And that's just a solution that we're providing. You might have a different solution. If you do, please put it in the comments. The reason that local sightings haven't taken off in the UK is because we don't have many sighters in the UK. In other countries like Morocco, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Malaysia, South Africa, they have literally hundreds of sighting locations across the country. We haven't set this up in the UK, so local sightings have not taken off. What we are saying is there are now 3 million Muslims living in the UK. We've got around 2,000 mosques in the UK. We have the people, we have the infrastructure. If we were to set up sighting locations across the UK, we could sight the local moon here in the UK and not rely on word from abroad. And in fact, this is a position that is accepted even in Saudi Arabia.
نقول الصحيح أنكم تصومون على رؤيتكم لكل أهل بلد رؤيا.
But guys, whatever your opinion and whenever you're celebrating Eid, Eid Mubarak on behalf of the New Crescent Society.